Hello and welcome to Optimal Game State. Today is Saturday the 28th of June when I'm recording this, and I haven't done one of these monthly reviews for quite some time, for about 3 months, and in a few more days I'll need to do the June one. So I'm trying to get through a bunch of these all at once. Life just caught up with me, as it does. And actually, conveniently, GW didn't have a great number of releases for their skirmish box games. There was a lot more focus, I felt, on 40k in the last few months, and to maybe a lesser extent Warhammer the Old World. So they've been really pushing those two lines, I feel. Not necessarily to the detriment of the box games. Honestly, like, for most of these games, having a bit of a break from releases isn't bad. I still have Warcry Warbands to catch up on. And yeah, Warcry hasn't had a release for quite some time. All right, let's kick into it. Let's see what we have. So first up, Warhammer Underworlds. We got Knives of the Crone, which actually are an interesting warband all by themselves, in that they're kind of like what were they? There's like some shadow elves that appear in Warcry and are now part of the greater faction. But yeah, they're kind of adjacent to them. There's a little bit more of a different team about them. If only if it's just the red. So it looks like there's something kind of happening here, especially because these are related to the Crone, whereas the Umbarath elves seem to be to do with Malekith. Anyway, the release schedule for Warhammer Underworlds is reduced, so it's not as busy as it used to be. It used to be every 2 months you get a new warband and a new pack of cards. I think they're moving it down to every 3 or 4 months, just to make it a little bit more manageable for people, I guess. Over on the Kill Team front, we had the Blood and Zeal box came out. And do I have it in here? Oh, yeah. And then for June, we've had the next box come out. So I have picked this one up myself. I have done my statue first, and I haven't gotten on to the others, which is terrible of me. The statue obviously was a piece from a previous scenery set. It was a Basilicanum. It was quite expensive, so being able to get the statues separate to that big scenery box is quite nice. Warbands look great, so it's a bunch of Ecclesiarchy versus a bunch of Berserker cultist types. So a bunch of guys who've seen a corn demon and are trying to emulate it as best they can by doing stuff like, chopping off their legs and replacing them with reversed claws and a bunch of other fun stuff like that. They look very cool. I'm looking forward to painting them. Over here in Blood Bowl, just 2 releases. So Maple Highgrove and Swiftfine Glimmer Shard. I think Glimmer Shard is the little thing, the little psychotic imp or something. And then I think Maple Highgrove is the big ent, or treant. Shouldn't be calling ents, that'll get in trouble. So a few more special players for Blood Bowl. Awesome. Oh, and just while we're talking about Blood Bowl, there are beginning to get some rumors of maybe a new edition coming out. So we'll see how that. I think those rumors are constantly circulating, so maybe don't put too much faith in them. Over in these Imperialis, we're getting a bunch of tanks for the Ad Mech, which is kind of cool. We are also getting these are kind of for the AdMech. I mean, they're not necessarily, but they're definitely AdMech styled and AdMech teamed when it comes to the Knights. So these guys certainly fit in stylistically a lot better with a AdMech army. Having more of these is great. Options is always nice. Necromunda continues out the range of things it's got. So on the right-hand side, that Prophet of the Redemption is coming from that... what is that campaign called? Sorry. It's the Eranthian Succession. Yeah, it's one of the books in the Eranthian Succession. So they're rounding out some of the characters in that. And then on the left-hand side, you've got the Abysmal Ferryman. These are the guys that get you in and out of Hive Secundus. So they're the ones that do. I'm not necessarily sure how they would fit in for actual games, because I think they are kind of supposed to be hirelings that you get on board with to help you get into it. And then anyway, there's lots of that happens. So yeah, the infotech, for example, I suspect, given that he's essentially a hacker, very, very cool model, very, very cool to see it in person. And the art was great. Extra monitors, always great. I'm not sure how much use it's going to be in game, but then this is Necromunda. So even though a lot of the rules for the hangers on don't give you necessarily a reason to play them, you always can. You always have profiles. You always can mess around. So the Whisper Merchant and the Psychoteric Troll are more of those. These are obviously Delac teamed, and yeah, again, I think these are characters, at least the Whisper Merchant. I'm not sure what the Psychoteric Troll does. These are characters where they are useful to have in the background, and they will occasionally turn up in raids against your home territory, but aren't that necessarily that useful otherwise. But again, beautiful models, and there's absolutely no problem with it. I love that they keep churning out this. There's just more and more characters. Fantastic. Now, Vandot the Fallen. This one is interesting. So this appears to be a Blood Angel Space Marine, but we're not sure. So it does have plugs where you have Space Marine things. It does have some armor that's been painted up as red, so that might match. It does have fangs, so very Blood Angel-y, vampiric. And you can see the vials of blood hanging around. Does carry a big bulger, is a large model. Hard to know what this is, what this says, but it's a very, very cool element. And I know if you're a Blood Angels fan and a Necromunda fan, this is definitely something to pick up. Okay, now this is more of a proper release rather than the kind of individuals. So this is, again, we're continuing out the Wastelands elements, and we're finally turning these nomads into a proper gang. So this is your second box, which typically has all the specialists, and then you're getting the upgrades box. So bits and pieces, different heads, and some different weapons. Always useful. So now you've got those 3 boxes. Now, whether you can necessarily... Like, the nomads don't necessarily integrate properly into anything that's not an Ash Waste campaign. You could arguably bring them into a Hive campaign and just say, yeah, they're there. And I think if you wanted to, no one would object to it. More bugs. It's quite cool. Cards, dice. Oh, and one of the notable things about the book is it doesn't actually have anything from the perspective of the nomads. It's all rumors and tales about them. So one of the things I've always been interested in is what's behind that armor, because they're always wearing this black carapace thing. So you never actually get to see if do they really have a face? Do they really have hands? Can we see a hand in the background? I'm not sure. So there's a bit of a mystery over whether it's actually humans under there or what it might be. Maybe it's a complete alien race. We don't know. Anyway, they've maintained the mystery by having it all be rumors and speculation. A few bits of scenery. So on the left-hand side, this is one of the buildings that you used to get in the Ash Waste box, but this has been upgraded with some extra guns. And yeah, just like that watchtower top. And yeah, just armored up a bit. It's a nice addition. It's interesting. Not sure how you'd use it necessarily. Yeah, I guess if you had an armored base in the Ash Waste and it was being attacked, that would be it. And on the right-hand side, we've got the Zorn Mortalis, the ruined Underhive sector. So these are all the ruined buildings from Hive Secundus that we saw from the recent big box. And obviously, it doesn't have to be Hive Secundus. Like, a rundown part of the Hive can be anywhere. So it's perfectly apt to put it wherever you want. All right, and that was it. That was 3 months of releases. Not really a lot, to be quite honest. Okay, so September last year for Warcry, Kill Team got a recent one, Necromunda got a recent one, Legion Imperialis, yep, still churning those out with the Mech. Warhammer Quest is so long ago, I took it off. And then, Warhammer Underworlds into that regular schedule, and Blood Bowl recently got some new bits. So, what do we have on the horizon? I'm not sure. We know Kill Team has another box that's just got up for pre-order recently, and I think, is it next week people will get in their hands? That's the one with the Tyranids versus the Servitors. So the scenery, that's actually quite cool. I'm not sure what's next for Legion Imperialis. Necromunda, yeah, again, no idea. We're between boxes. We could see something interesting. Blood Bowl, again, speculation for a new edition. We haven't seen any new teams in a while. So the last one, I think, was the Chaos Dwarfs. Warhammer Worlds on a new schedule, and Warhammer Quest recently had an anniversary, and they have had an advanced dungeon. What is that called? It's whatever the GW version of Hero Quest was. Like they were involved in Hero Quest, but they made their own version at one point. That has recently hit an anniversary, and all they're doing for it is they're just playing a game on Warhammer Plus. Seems like a waste. Anyway, yeah, I think at the moment they're focusing on the bigger lines. That's fine. We've got things to catch up on, and we've got things to do. So thank you very much for listening, and I'll probably put one up in another few days to just do June so I can get back on track with that. So thank you very much for listening, and have a great week. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Each week I put up a new video talking about one of Games Workshop's specialist games. The goal is always to try and make the best possible two-player experience. If this is something you'd find interesting, please subscribe to the channel and comment to let me know what you'd like to see in future.